All right, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, day number 117. So, as for today's update, there are once again, no updates on the word eviction situation. Just counting down the days till the hearing. And as usual, we're going to work toward the next release of the terminal block mining simulation game for the stream. And I am working on another long form video. I almost worked on it today. I got a bit distracted. I merged in the changes that I did last night, and there was a bug that I got to last night, and then I thought about it and I figured out a way to fix that. So we'll continue on from that and fix the remaining issues with the implementation. And I think I'm at a good position now with this. So after I got that last bug that I think ended the stream with last night, I fixed that today, and I now have the layer merging with arbitrary. It works now with arbitrary with characters, not just with two characters. And also I have it working with like just any arbitrary placements of the characters and up to like 5 layers and stuff. And so I ran the fuzz testing while I was working out today for about like 30 minutes, and it didn't find any bugs. There's one case that I still haven't considered, and that is when characters get occluded partially on the left, which can happen if you have a negative displacement. So that's, I think, the last. I expect that is still going to be failing, and I think that's the last like feature. And then once that's done, the implementation is done, and it works. And not only does it work, I have working test cases for it. So at that point, then I can, if necessary, aggressively refactor it, simplify it, improve it, and then I get to run the test cases, and if it passes, then I'm good. And of course, the next thing, all of this is leading up to actually switching everything over to use this one function. So this will allow me to complete this whole arc of refactoring all these layer merging things, so I can go back and replace. I'll probably rename it, but I'll just have one layer merging function, one hyper generic layer merging function. So that way any bug fixes will only go in that one function instead of the 6 that I had before. So all right, let's see if it works. Orthoplex 64, how's it going? Coolest French says hello. How's it going? Now, one weird thing I thought might go away is there's still some kind of glitch with the background color, and that might be some bug or interaction with I'm still using some of the old I have one other implementation of that merge changes function, and that might be causing it. So if that's the root cause of this, then I'll when I delete it and replace it, then that'll just magically go away. But if it doesn't, then that's not good. That means I have test cases that pass, but the implementation will still be broken. So fingers crossed that that'll just start to work. It could also be I might just be sending in the wrong flags or something in the where I'm actually printing it. Google account 1 says, "It my bedtime. Good night. Have a good night." All right, implementation works. So here's the current state of the test cases. So it's running pretty good. This is now with arbitrary widths up to 10 by 10, with up to 20 characters, randomly arranged and randomly merged. Do you know if the test speed is limited by having to print to real terminal? It almost certainly is. It would probably be way faster if I didn't. I guess if I really wanted to do like a huge, if I wanted to get more aggressive, that'd be maybe a final step of like to test, billions of cases or something. But I think the randomized testing is pretty good at catching, I think, most of the implementation bugs. The disadvantage of if I don't print the output, then when it fails, I won't know what the internal test was. I could like refactor the test case to make it smarter and like dump the contents to a file or something. But for now, I think it's fine to just output it. All right, that's working pretty good. Greetings from Argentina, my man. Buenos Aires here, representing. Love all the work you're putting into this. Thank you. Hopefully it will soon bear fruit. I'm getting. I guess I have it all archived, but I'm not sure how long I've been working on this screen layer merging feature. I think it must be like approaching like 40 days that I've been working on this. Now I gotta finish this and move on to something else. It's not. It'll be. I think it'll be very useful, the fact that this will work. It'll be nice to have this feature done, so it's not. I'm not struggling with weird bugs in the future. So let's change the test case So the remaining test error will happen if the displacement is negative. So this should fail. I feel you also working on a small feature for 20 days already. Yeah, I thought it, in my mind, I was thinking it would be like maybe like a couple days for this, but then I kept thinking like, I should do this the right way, and interesting. I expected this test would fail almost immediately. That's what I expected. All right, let's simplify that. What's cracking, Robbie? Up for another coding bender. Yeah. I gotta keep at it until I get the next release out. And then maybe I can take a break and do something different. Now I should only need one character to get this. A 2 wide character should do. I should probably just do 1 by 1. Oh, I don't have enough layers, maybe 2 layers. I'm trying to revive my MMORPG. Unity updates killed it again. That's too bad. Yeah, that's one of the downsides of using, like, being hooked into some platform that just like has a monstrosity of, like, there would be so much that depends on. If you like put it to the side for a few months, I'd imagine there'll be tons of breaking changes and backwards incompatible things. All right, so this is I believe the last case that is failing, and that is if there is a 2-column character, which is what is being represented here in this output. So it's just a simple screen layer that's 1 column high, 2 columns wide. It contains 1 character that's 2 wide, and it's being merged down onto a layer that has an M in the first column and a null character in the second column. And the current observed result is 2 null characters. But so the displacement is -1, so it's supposed to shift this back by 1 and merge it onto this. So the current behavior is it puts a null, and the behavior that I want to specify is that should become a space character for any of the remaining partial pieces of the multi-column character. Two years, so it's pretty broke. Interesting. So you have an MMO. You have an MMORPG. Are there like other people that play it, or like was it a production kind of thing, like revenue producing one, or is it just more like a hobby one? Got released in alpha stages, but monetary requirements took me away. Getting back to my roots, figured it's time. Nice. That it's actually released. A lot of games don't even get to that stage. So Google's been changing back and forth the usernames. Are you the same? Are you the same anonymous user that was that mentioned like the Bitcoin wallet thing, the brute forcing? You had a project for brute forcing. I just trying to associate characters together in the chat. I think that one was anonymous, but you're anonymous-0. It might just be your username versus display name. Okay. So this is my check for the right boundary. Ideally, it feels like there should be a better way to write all this, but This is just such insane code. If I go away from this for a while, it's going to be such a pain to get back into it. But if I can just get all the tests to pass, then this would be a good test for stress testing AI. Like if I can, when I eventually get around to like testing to see what AI is capable of, if I could do just like pigeonhole optimization on this, if I could just say like, suggest one change to make this simpler, and then do that like 50 times to like completely simplify this. If it can do that successfully, then that would be impressive. Yeah, it's great for refactoring work. I do recommend using it that way. And for snippet generation. Yeah, I'll have to try it. I think the best, once it's like passing the test cases, I like when you have like just great test cases, because then, or like fuzz testing that really catches everything, because then you can just make any change, and if the tests pass, then you're golden. This might work. Hello, Robert. I was wondering if you'd share your concept or belief about our creator. That's a very ontological question. I guess I don't really I don't really have a ton of thoughts about I'm definitely not religious in the classical sense. But I do something that I find interesting is a lot of the hardcore, like Reinhard Riemann was. I think he was. I can't remember his position. He was a pastor or something. He was like a religious figure in a church, and like on one hand, there's like for your typical Reddit atheist, they'll profess to be like high IQ, and they use logic and facts and stuff like that. But I also think it's interesting that some of the most hardcore logical people are also deeply religious and have like a very deeply religious fixation. I mean, in that sense, I don't study it. I don't follow any religious texts, but at the same time, I do think there's something almost like spiritual about like physics or mathematics, because you can actually you can discover novel things about the universe with a pen and a piece of paper by just like writing equations and stuff, which is pretty interesting. Getting rather philosophical for Wednesday. Yeah, I guess it's in a different time zone. It's Wednesday already. $4.66. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, if you look up a few of the famous like a few of famous mathematicians and logicians are quite deeply religious. I think actually was it Gödel, I think, he had like in developing the incompleteness theorem, he was like obsessed with a way to I can't remember. It was like a part of a religious fixation that he had at the time. I think he was like trying to prove the existence of God or something at the time. There's a whole story about him. I think he actually might have been like institutionalized or something for a brief period around that time. And of course, the greatest programmer to ever live was also quite religiously fixated. Aussies are time travelers, I guess. It's crazy, the bizarrely specific structures that come from just the group axioms. Yeah, I find stuff like real analysis and like the e to the I pi plus 1 equals 0 and like how much you can derive from that, and like structures like the Julia sets and things there. It's pretty. It's interesting how you can just sit down and like think about this stuff, and it'll to me, like that's the closest thing to like a spiritual conversation with the universe. I read Hulk Hogan wrestled 400 days a year because of time zones. Yeah, I think I heard that as well. That's interesting. I think communicating our opinions gives us an encompassing and alternative opinion. Together is how a village helps us raise a child. I guess. I don't know, it sounds like a conflation of a couple of related concepts. Alright, so having this should prevent me from writing to before the buffer. do what I want. Let's try that. That might do what I want. I'm in exception hell right now. That's not good. I never considered math as a godly thing, but after hearing you say it, rings a bell in my mind. The math is indeed the ultimate truth, and therefore very godly. Yeah, I think if you want to make a case for, like you could, like something that's like, if you want to make an undefeatable argument for something about spirituality, I think it's going to have some connection to mathematics or logic or something intrinsically quantifiable about the universe. Because if you have like a book or something, you can always say, this book is holy. What if it's a lie? What if it was made, what if it's just like a stolen book and it was made up, and the pages are, it says on the package that it's made from recycled cardboard, but it's actually made of like toxic chemicals and it's bad for you and stuff. But math, that's like, it's timeless. Different people on different continents reinvent the same mathematical structures, even though they don't communicate. Robert, hi. How's it going? What if I'm adopted? I guess. I never really thought to put myself in that position. I think you can still have a, pretty fulfilling life and stuff. Although I guess there is still questions about like legacy and where do you come from. I guess to find out you were adopted, that would remove the like if you thought you were from royalty, you were descended from royalty or something like that. But I guess if you're, I guess probably more important is just having solid relationships with whoever raised you when you were growing up. Right, there's no failures. Now let's try this with a -1 placement offset. Will it work? Do you believe in God or a certain religion? I pretty much just answered that question. I think 99% mankind is unaware. Maybe. Do you stream on other platforms like Twitch or Kick? I do not. It's been on the to-do list to multi-stream, but I just haven't got there. I saw a thing that Mr. Beast signed a deal for, or like signed a deal or started an account on Kick, which I don't know if Kick is only streaming, isn't it? So that means that Mr. Beast is going to become a streamer now? I guess maybe the streaming thing is the right path. This is what you have to do. Everyone is going to have to be a streamer in the future. It'll be the law. Gotta love errors. Kinematic body only supports speculative continuous collision direction. Meanwhile, using speculative continuous. Yeah, the worst thing is, especially if you're upgrading from an old thing, maybe it's like some internal conversion, some upgrade thing, some upgraded asset file has the wrong thing in it. But it's like, so if you recreate it from scratch, it'll work. But if you use the existing one, it won't work, maybe. Top streamers made me lose hope in humanity. Yeah, it's definitely, I think a lot of the top streamers are mostly targeting a very young audience. So that's why, like I tried watching a bunch of them. Kai Cenat, I've checked out his streams sometimes, and they're just like, he has too much energy. Actually, I've watched some Mr. Beast videos before, and for the longest time, I was never able to finish any of them. They're just like, they're fast paced, but I find them kind of boring. They're just not cut in a way that's interesting to me. But I guess they're optimized for like middle school kids. So it looks like that was too good to be true. Did you have to relearn programming from scratch after watching them? No, fortunately not. Robert already knows what will happen if a train falls into a giant pit. That was one of the newer ones. I think I did watch that. Actually, I do know. Technically, I almost well, as a kid, I actually spent a lot of time around train yards, and they can actually be pretty dangerous, especially when it's windy. The wind can there's like train cars that have these really like broadsides in the end for they're used for carrying lumber, and when they're empty, if the wind is really strong, it can like pick them up, and like it's quite dangerous actually. They can coast like, for miles or whatever down the track, and gain a lot of momentum when the wind is strong, and there's no sound because there's engines not on. They're just coasting down by themselves. And I was in a trade yard at one place, and I was just like playing around where the tracks were, and randomly I saw. I didn't even. I wasn't right there at the time, but it was in a place where I was. I was like, I don't know, 20 feet away from there, and then out of nowhere I heard this like big loud racket, and it was one of these trains that had like it slammed it, so it was actually in like a siding, so where the track ended, and then at the end there was a big pile of like the rock in order to stop it, but it like ran into the pile of rock, and then it pushed it way down. It like went way up over the bank because it had so much momentum, and then it busted all the springs off of the ends of it and stuff, and then it very much startled me because it was completely silent. So this would merge down onto this. Tobacco is a form. Tobacco in form of a skull bandit is the ultimate healing tool right now. I don't know what that means. In the form of skull bandit. Revising my old code has me questioning myself. What the heck was I thinking? Yeah, that's what I imagine I'm going to be thinking after I look at this for a while. But if I can just get these test cases to pass. to bed. Thank you and good night. Have a good night. that's why. This has to be after. Actually, let's just do that in terminal, because the IDE messes up the spacing. Looks wrong. Wait a minute. Let's try that again. And that's why, because I am not incrementing the character inside of the early exit. Oh, that's why. Endless complexity. Hello, can I ask you a personal question? Sure, I guess. Nope, still not working. Oh, maybe I forgot to build. Context: sprained my ankle terribly, and doctor told me I can't walk for a test. Can't walk for at least a month. It can take up to 3 months. Since you used to teach at college, this is related to that. Okay. I guess this is about like what to do in your situation for asking for like alternative accommodations for tests or something. I can't get a medical discharge because I haven't completed most of my course yet. I'm told to just drop the course to get a W instead. I'll assume there's more. It should be not. The class just began, so that's the reason why I can't just drop, and my ankle just gave out. I couldn't control it either. The college I go to is basically a glorified degree mill. Oh, that sucks. Can't walk for at least a month. That's too bad. I don't know. I guess like sprained ankle. Rent a wheelchair. Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking that maybe something like that could even be an option. Want to transfer to somewhere else nicer? So I'm worried about W affecting my ability to transfer. From your experience as an instructor, what have people done? From my experience as an instructor, from my experience as an instructor, those like cases like yours are kind of like on the margin of what I do, like from my I would say like when teaching a course, most of my time, most of my focus was on like the course material, how to get the test together. It was kind of like on the high level, like operation of the course. And in terms of like students would every once in a while come to me with, say, like, I had a student emailed me, say, like, I was in a car crash or something like that and needed to get like surgery or something. I'm like, wow, that sucks. Now from my perspective, I have no idea if the student is like lying or not, or if it's I like when a student comes to me with, like, for example, your situation exactly. A student might stop me when I'm trying to leave the class and come to me with that story, and I'm listening to them like, okay, I gotta take your word for it. But then again, also, like, there were many students who would like lie about stuff, like I'd catch them literally lying and cheating and stuff. But then of course other students, like I had a student I'm pretty sure was truthful, said they were getting a car crash and like they were really badly hurt or something. So from my perspective, I'm just like, I don't as a software developer, I have no opinion on that. And in terms of like the analysis and what to do, I, as much as possible, try to delegate to whatever is like the standard accepted policy. So for example, if a student has like a medical issue, if they have like a doctor's note, or like as long as there's usually the colleges they have to have some, like if you get hurt or sick or something, I think there's usually some sort of alternative accommodation thing. There's some kind of process, and like there's something stipulated for what's supposed to happen. And in terms of like, trusting the student or whatever, I simply don't have enough information about the student to make that judgment call. So that would kind of, like when the student would submit a doctor's note or whatever, I'm not even, really in the loop on that. Like I think this only happened a few times. I forget if I had to, if they presented it to me or not, but I would mostly just talk to them, like whoever was the like director of the program, and say like, I have a student who's asking for this accommodation. Like, what's the policy on this? And they just like recite what the policy was, and then I try to just stick to whatever the policy is, and be as like neutral as possible on it. And you said about having a W affecting your ability to transfer. That's not actually, I would say, not even. There's probably some of the full-time professors would know that. As a part-time professor, I don't even think any of the part-time professors like saw that information. Like that was totally like when I taught there, they would say, okay, you're teaching this class from this time to this time, and then I would show up to class and there were students there, and that was the first I ever like saw about them or thought about them. And then I'd teach a subject, and then I'd leave. And assessing like, you know, whether a student got a W or not, that I would be totally indifferent about that, and I probably wouldn't even know about it. Plus dorm is assigned in a weird way. I have to climb down a set of stairs. Get my bed downstairs. Can't even access room without going through stairs. Now that kind of sucks. I know with how much everything's wheelchair accessible everywhere, I would assume that all the stuff would be wheelchair accessible for you. Came to my professor in my class, gave him my medical note, and showed him my destroyed foot. Less worried about my GPA, more worried about how my W would affect my transfer. I don't know. I think like every institution has a different meaning for what those are, but like a W, I assume a W is like a W does not mean you failed, or like a W for withdraw. My guess is like if you stayed in the course long enough to have a fair shot at it and you still failed, I think that looks bad. But if you had like if in my assessment and my personal judgment, if someone withdrew as early as possible and has a doctor's note, then that's it's like a -0. It doesn't necessarily count against you. I think if there are occasionally students that like always look for excuses to like withdraw, or maybe someone stepped in their toe and they get a medical note for that, and they're always trying to get alternative accommodations for tests and stuff, and those students exist. But of course, some people do, stuff insinuating every term. There's always a few students who would have like they got like extremely ill or whatever and they couldn't miss the tests. I would say how it affects you for a transfer. It probably depends where you transfer to and how they look at a W. Random world domination dues. Thank you very much. I assume that's James Goodrich, probably. I think I recognize the icon. Thank you very much. Class also just began, which is why I can't get a discharge. Yeah, I would assume yeah, honestly, I'm probably not even the right person to ask on it. But I assume what's the deadline for a withdraw? Like there's probably a withdrawal deadline. Like you can't withdraw after like several weeks in the course. You can't withdraw. Because that would probably color my, like if I was gonna judge you and be like, is this person a bad student? Because if there's a deadline of like if you are not able to withdraw after a certain amount of time in the course, probably like 3 or 4 weeks or something, isn't it? Got my ankle destroyed 2 days ago. They told me deadline to withdraw. HSW is still there. They told me. But like how like let's say you wait a while. What's the deadline to withdraw from the course? Because I would say if it's a couple of weeks into the course, then if someone says, if I look at someone's transcript and says they have a W, that means that they withdrew within the first couple of weeks of the course, which implies to me that this is not some student who is trying to avoid, like if you stayed for 90% of the course and you had a 20% and you were definitely going to fail. Soon actually. Class just happened for 2 weeks. Yeah, like if I was going to judge someone, and I know that withdrawal has to be done at the start of the course, and I'm trying to assess, like, is this person incompetent, and they withdrew at the start of the course, it implies to me that this person isn't just trying to avoid getting a bad grade. It's because it's like something happened. And then if you also have the note about that, it's not going to count against you, because if you stay after that and then you get an F or a fail or whatever, then I know that student had a fair shot at the course and did poorly anyway. But yeah, I guess there's a lot going on there. You said you're at kind of a degree mill place, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I guess if you can transfer to somewhere better. I don't have any advice on the low value college degree programs that have a poor ROI are kind of an epidemic, and I don't know anymore where the best places are. My recommendation would be, if you can find somewhere with a good co-op program, like somewhere that puts a bit of effort into helping you get a job. See, why would that be out of bounds? Networking has me throwing my hands in the air. Temporary defeat. Networking is in the game. Thanks for your advice. Yeah, no worries. Hopefully that situation works out for you. Yeah, it's the worst. I've rolled my ankle a few times. It's not fun. I mean, I'm not sure how that counts for tuition, if you like lose your tuition or. But yeah, shitty situation. Yeah, that's an annoying case. I'd hope this would be simple, but there's just so many weird edge cases. So when a multi-column character gets merged down, I take, because the active and change flags have to be the same, I just copy the flags and colors from the first column. But when it gets cut off, on the left, there is no first column. So that information is not stored anywhere. Your streams have taught me to avoid anything to do with multi-column characters at all costs. Yeah, that's probably good advice. I guess when I first started this, I didn't think this would be so insane with so many cases. There's a bunch of, I guess just kind of like unnatural rules that I wanted to add to this that I think will make for decent like decent output. Like when you have a multi-column character with a background. Like one example is when I open the help menu. I want the help menu to still stay as like a normal like rectangular box, but then it should partially, if it's partially occluding a rock character, whatever, it should basically just disappear the rock character but keep the character that's behind it, which is kind of an unusual. It basically means you have to erase the rock but preserve the background character or the background color. When do you believe you'll be done working on this game? You've been very consistent. Thanks for the streams. How do you handle burnout on something like this? I've improved my test cases in C++. I think I'll never be done. Now, the feature that I'm working on, which is really I've been struggling with for the past 40 days or so, I think I'm on the verge, I'm on the cusp of actually finishing that. It's possible that I'd be finished it in a couple of days. The next thing I'm going to do after that is I'm going to work on some performance improvements, which I think are necessary because it's still quite a bit slow. And then once that's done, it'll just be much more pleasant. You won't be like lagging every time you try to move around. In terms of burnout, I don't know. I just got to keep grinding. Okay, let's change the test cases. I'm going to use a different approach. For I guess inheriting the colors and change flags from the first column. All right, it's not totally broken. All right, let's commit that because I think that's pretty close to the final solution. Now the next thing, Will this work? All right, it compiles. All right, that didn't break the existing functionality. Now let's see. If that fixed the important case, which is a displaced layer. Nope, we got a bug. Weird to see Jimmy Vale's comment not make it to Top Chat, but what he said was, in no way offensive. YouTube algo is whack. The YouTube algorithm will not have that comment. Yeah, I guess Jimmy Vales, if you're listening, I'm lazy, so we just leave it on Top Chat. But if you're getting censored, I have no specific censorship rules or anything. So if you send a chat and it gets stuck, it's not me. You can just try chatting it again or try rewording it. I've got all the unit test cases that failed in the past as part of building a suite. They basically are implicitly kept. I haven't necessarily, well, as I've been doing this, I've been like changing and expanding the test cases, so they're not the specific failure. The specific test cases probably won't get tested again, but I'm testing like on the order of like hundreds of thousands of basically fuzz tests, so it's most likely like in my testing facility, when I actually narrow it down to like debug it and go step through the debugger, I always like make these numbers as low as possible. So lowest width, lowest height, lowest number of test characters, one change region, whatever. The lowest to reproduce the bug, and then also randomize the regions, or to put them at a fixed offset. And then for the actual coverage that I want, when I want to like get more, once I fix all the bugs, I expand this out to try and get more bugs. But the eventual test will be, this will be set to true, and I'm already pretty close to the desired behavior. The only thing is when there's a displacement to the left, it'll cut off some characters, and currently that case is not working. Record array was 40. What's on this? when y equals 3, plus as you go through and make changes, you'll likely find other cases later, instead of just sticking the ones you've already encountered. Yeah, it's pretty much like it should basically cover, like I've changed the random distribution of the inputs and outputs, so it's like, you know, stick 10 random characters throughout here. The characters have random widths, random column widths, they have random active states, totally random change flags, and so I just let that go for like hundreds of thousands. It'll catch like all kinds of weird, like even so far it's caught weird cases that's made me think, I did not anticipate that case. And then I'll in a couple of cases I made the validation of the layers a bit more strict so that those conditions shouldn't happen. Didn't notice any gatekeeping on my message, actually. It's just being cute. Saying you're incapable of burnout. I used another word aside from incapable. It also starts with the letter L. Yeah, that's interesting. And you're also you're a channel member too, so it's funny that I don't know, the YouTube algorithm is, yeah, I don't know what it's thinking. Honestly, it's kind of depressing. Like, we joke about censorship in the future, but the fact that so many innocent comments can get filtered. Where there was starting with was that I that was used a lot 2019 and 2020 onward. I'm trying to think of what that was. I don't know. You can try just chatting it again. See if it's it'll filter you. Talking about the word immune. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't guess that. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. What are they thinking by censoring that kind of stuff? Like, if you want to get me to believe in conspiracy theories, censoring that word in this day and age, you know, maybe there is some funky business going on. I mean, after the news recently, I realized I should start watching Alex Jones to figure out what the news is. Things are far more crazy than you think. I think it was automation. It's still a problem, though. Like, maybe it's too polar bear izing. Get the news through memes. Yeah, it's a good approach. Okay, we still got some failures. So let's see if this will reveal the issue. Even the word tyrannical just got censored. Yep, the government won't let you. It can't allow you to communicate these things. Right, now let's see if I can get the right color codes. Right, that might be it. One can hope. Living in 1984 for real. I would argue it's almost like worse than 1984, because it's like we like it's one thing if you have, oh boy, that's a good sign. It's one thing if you have like specific, damn. It's one thing if you have like a really specific, like if you have a tyrant with really specific intentions, you can learn to like censor yourself according to what the tyrant wants. But it actually seems like we just have algorithms that are random, and they just like randomly censor you to mess with you, and then you get paranoid because you don't even know. We have to invent all this like crazy language, just like what you see in YouTube videos and stuff. And it's also banned on TikTok. People are trying to figure out like weird ways to avoid trigger words and demonetization. I just mean automation. AI is prone to imperfection. The latter word is an understatement. I think by now AI could understand context, especially when Google is claiming quantum supremacy. Yeah, that's what I would think. But at the same time, like there's so many other signals, like the fact that the person who said that is a paying channel member. Like you would think, like they invented all this, they put that like stupid #1 on people's names to like rank people, to like gamify and like have top fans and stuff. So they're doing that to like encourage chat and engagement. But on the other hand, if you're a paying member here and you try to just say something, you know, not crazy, and you get censored, I don't know. Breaking Google's quantum computer simulates its own particular self better than any classical computer. Will it? I think they're still stuck at a small number of qubits. What about this? I was joking. The tasks underlying most quantum supremacy claims are just hopelessly obscure quantum problems. I I saw a video recently from that German YouTuber Sabine, saying that they had a breakthrough around like you can take like someone figured out how to take a large number of noisy qubits and combine them into one error-free one. Gonna hype up those sweet investors. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on in the quantum computing industry. Having said that, I wouldn't be surprised if there are some crazy breakthroughs there that we'll only learn about in years to come when it's declassified. Oh boy, that's a really good sign. Ah, no. Yeah, it's that same case as before. Pyramid schematics v17.39. Sounds like the folks playing the statistics game. Oh, is that like a reference to the paper on it or something? This is becoming so nightmarishly confusing now. I hope this works. Wow, that's a really good sign. All right, let's commit that. Look how absolutely terrible this code is. Now let's try it with -2. No failures. Now let's go really crazy. Let's do this. That's looking really good. All right. Let's go crazy. All right, this is basically max complexity. That is really awesome. So that might actually be the finish line for multi-column character merging. well, not really the finish line, but in terms of like the brain melting bugs that take like hours to debug. So now that I have these test cases, I really like to refactor that code, but I've already spent so much time on it. Well, at least I can commit this and kind of move on. I still have to adapt. I have to go back and like change all the references to this and swap it over to use the new code pathway. James Goodrich, you're so generous. Thank you very much for the 20. Great work powering through it all. Yeah, it is. It definitely gets to a point where you're like, it feels like you're stuck down at the bottom of a well or something. And you're like, man, this is so crazy. Should I abandon this? But at least from the test cases, I think it does everything that I want. And then hopefully I can go back and change all the references. And then hopefully I won't discover new bugs. But it's this fuzz testing is pretty thorough. Green as far as the eye can see. I'm sending a message about how I hate TCP. Are you ready to receive a message about how I hate TCP? I'm ready to receive your message about how you hate TCP. I've sent a message saying I hate TCP. TCP is all right. I had to debug some really crazy bugs in a distributed system once. I had to like fire up Wireshark, and I ended up discovering that what was happening was we were sending packets spuriously through an internet gateway from an IoT device, and some of the devices would randomly start using like crazy amounts of data. It was using like their entire monthly data allotment, like they were only supposed to send 1 or 2 packets. We figured out what was happening was the internet gateway had like a keep alive, and we were not sending packets frequently enough. There was a 5-minute timeout of the connections. So if you didn't send a packet for 5 minutes, it would assume the connection was not used, and it would recycle it and just add it. It would like it was using like port tunneling, and so it would reassign that port to a different device that it had also timed out. And then what was happening was these devices were sending TCP packets, and from the server's perspective, the device had not changed because the connection, as far as the server and the client were concerned, the connection had not dropped, but it had dropped within the internet service provider. And so the server would see a TCP packet with a completely out of whack sequence number, and then it would say, oh, I missed a few of your packets. Please resend those 5 million megabytes of packets. And then it would just send like crazy amounts of data and get into a completely invalid state. It would do that sometimes, and sometimes it would just like reset the connection, because like within the kernel, I would say like this TCP sequence number is ridiculous. Or no, I guess that was in cases where I think the server had already disconnected. It would just say, nope, you don't have a connection with me. Reset. All right, let's commit that. I have a couple things. So this function is right here. It's going to replace this function. So I guess there's still a couple small things that have to be updated. So there's a merge changes there. And a merge changes here. Been stuck on this double character connection creation issue for the past 2 hours. Stuck on this double character oh, your character in the MMO is connecting twice. Yep, distributed systems are fun. This trick is to ignore reality and invent and substitute your own. Living in insanity or reality. You decide. Well, I think I'll leave it there for tonight. That was some decent progress. I think the rest of finishing this off will go quick. There's a bit of time when I have this like crazy algorithm that I made up for like figuring out the occluded characters. We have to do a right pass and a left pass. And I was at a point where I'm like, what happens if this is like, if this algorithm is fundamentally wrong and I have to like completely scrap it, but looks like it worked. Now I can move on to simplifying it. So we'll start with that on day 118. All right, talk to you later, guys.